Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are crime dramas. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season 3 premiere of Warrior. Great season premiere. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, let's start off with, I do love the opening shot because it's befitting, because obviously the show's coming back after such a long time. So that swooping shot of Chinatown, but also being now knowing where season 2 left off with Chinatown, to see it kind of up and bustling again, just is really nice. We don't know how long it's been specifically. It's been maybe a couple weeks, maybe even a few months. I don't think it's been that long, like years or anything like that. I don't know if I don't think they do that in a time frame, but I think it's probably, I don't know. I could be mistaken, but I feel like it's only going to be weeks or months. But Assam, is dealing with the Long Z because he is, at first I thought he was just doing his job as kind of like Chinatown hero, and he was trying to mediate the peace between the Long Z and the Hopway, because he's like, yo, you're in, Hopway territory, you're kind of encroaching in this territory, so pack up your stuff and leave. And the guy points a hatchet at him. He's like, usually there's kind of like this repertoire we have, like this little back and forth before you even get to the point. I mean, wow, you're jumping to it, pulling out the hatchet. So had to pop it off with an awesome action sequence of just like single-handedly going up against a lot of the Long Z. What I was surprised by is him getting help from the Hopway, because I was like, interesting for you to be on good terms with them, because I thought like after everything went down last season, specifically in the season finale, I thought Assam was going to go solo, but it's like, there's only so much he can do, because he still believes and sides with the Hopway because they are the closest thing he has to a family, especially young June. It's like, you are a brother to me, and especially with my sister in the position she's in right now, I need all the help I can to we don't really know what Assam's full goal is. I think it's to probably keep things as much in check as possible. I don't think he's going to go as gung-ho like he was last season about taking Mai Ling out, how he was so blinded by that. I don't think he's on that warpath anymore. I think it's just at least trying to keep some form of equilibrium going on. But especially because how young June, the last time we saw him last season, what did he do? He looked at the mural of Assam and he spit on the ground. So you could tell there's bad blood, but for them to be good, I was like, oh, maybe, young June moved past it. It's like, no, it's still there. He's trying his hardest not to let it control him. But all of them work together. Obviously, they end up going toe-to-toe with Leong, which this is the first time Leong and Assam have fought each other in the capacity. Last time we saw them together was in the season 2 finale, where they fought side by side. Now they're fighting. They haven't fought against each other since episode 9, since the tournament. So, and you see Assam kind of made him bleed a little bit. So it's like, I'm not the same person I was. You're not the only one flexing your skills. I've been through a lot these past seasons. Since our match, I've been through so much and so many different fights, and I've been pushing myself and honing my skills. So once again, much like their first encounter in season 1, it was kind of broken up because the cops have been busting in and out of Chinatown. We see some businesses are shut down. To be fair, it's that's all because of Buckley, and even that's because of Mai Ling, because she's pushing things, because she wants to push Chinatown in a situation where it makes it a lot easier for her to group in, because no one else, not even the people in her tongue, are aware of her deal with Buckley, that she has the police working in her favor. I'm sure Leong's picking up on it, where it's the Hopway are being cornered and we just happen to be doing better. It's that can't be a coincidence, Because Mai Ling's always kept him in the dark about everything she's kind of had going on with Buckley. Not unless she's filled him in, but I'd assume he's still in the dark. But you would think out of anyone, he'd be questioning at the most of they're causing havoc in Chinatown, but why are we the only ones succeeding where everyone else is kind of falling behind? Maybe he's just thinking Mai Ling's just really good at what she does. Because she did put them in a position where they were better off, because Mai Ling did do the whole thing last season where it's legitimize their businesses, whereas the Hopway, their businesses are just the protection racket they've got going on. They have no actual businesses that they own. At least Mai Ling is able to kind of legitimize her businesses by being because we are a part of these legitimate businesses. But I'm sure that's just the front, for the fact is that Buckley's really doing the heavy lifting by like having the cops come in. So that might be why Lee Young isn't thinking too much of it. He's like, right, we benefited by our businesses being legit. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking that. So, but I love Bill and Assam. It's just like, right. He's like, you stay out of Chinatown. You're in our business. Because he also made it pretty clear with Leary last season. Like, yo, I don't want anyone, unless you're Chinese, do not step foot in Chinatown or we're going to have a problem. That was more so speaking at Leary's people, but it's also about the cops because they are because of them causing such a ruckus, like people can't make money. People can't take care of their families and people are starving because of what the cops are doing. But in Bill's mind, it's like, right, I am following the orders of the mayor, but I'm trying to keep as much peace as possible considering how torn up this place was. And now you here are the Hopway and the Longzi causing that much mischief yet again. So, but the Hopway are doing everything they can to try and salvage this situation and put themselves in a better light with everything that's kind of going on. But the problem is Young June isn't quite in a good place because, as Chow puts it, he's still dealing with the revelation about who your sister is. But then they didn't talk about it. It's like, well, his dad is gone. Once again, his dad was his safety net, so everything falls on him. So at a time where like everything's kind of in a shit position, his dad's gone, so it all kind of falls on him. And he's also paranoid because he doesn't know who to trust, and he's just kind of leading with an iron fist when he should lead with a little more decorum than he's doing. Because one of the guys, like one of the people who owes him like protection money, he slaps the shit out of him because it's like, bro, you disrespect me. You're talking about how we're not protecting you. It's like, well, you're also not protecting, you're not also paying us. So that's all, it's a little bit of a catch-22, but it's just kind of like, don't disrespect me. You better learn, and Assam has to calm him down. It's like, yo, let Hong handle this. Hong's like, yeah, no, I got this, boss. You should be handling this anyway. Like Assam is doing everything he can to kind of placate, June, which just pisses him off even more because it's like, don't embarrass me in front of people. And Hong's trying to do the same thing too. It's like, oh man, let's not get too heated about you and Chow. Chow's been good to you. Ask him for something, he doesn't. Yeah, you gonna really be worried about that? You want to go get some sticky, boss? Like they're all doing everything because they know he's like, it's like walking on eggshells around him because every little thing is going to make him pop off because he's always been very like gun-ho and angry, but he's even angrier just because everything with Mylene, she's just gotten more powerful, whereas the Hopwave gotten weaker. His issues with the Psalm have not been buried, like that betrayal, those lies, and also his dad not being there. It's like the person he feels like he could trust the most, especially because they were on the way to having a better relationship. His dad just left without saying anything to him, so that kind of rubbed him the wrong way. And because he has also got the weight of all of this, he doesn't have his father's advice. And it's like, well, I probably can't. I got a Psalm at home, but I have my beef with a Psalm right now. So I'm going to listen a little bit, but I'm not going to listen as deeply as I probably should to him. Because a Psalm is not, because I think that's kind of an interesting parallel where it's like, Young Jun was still angry last season, but I don't think he was as angry as a Psalm was. But now it is a thing of like, they've kind of switched a little bit, whereas like Young Jun is still blinded by his rage, whereas a Psalm's kind of taking a step back. And like I said, I don't fully know what his intentions are for Mylene. Like, I don't think it's like I'm going to destroy the Long Z like I was before. Like I said, he's calmed down a lot, so. Because Young Jun was chewing off Chow's head because it's like, oh, you got you're still selling to the Long Z. But Chow was like, yo, I'm an independent person. Your father always liked me being independent. I was like, better shut up, Chow. He already smacked the shit out of someone once for bringing up his father. So, and it's like, right, the compare and contrast of like, oh, you're never going to be as good as your father, which feels a little Lion King-ish, where it's just like, oh yeah, like, I mean, I'm basing this on Kingdom Hearts 2, like the second half of Kingdom Hearts 2, because with Simba, like, feeling like everyone's doubting his leadership, because all they ever talked about is like, oh, how he compares to Mufasa. There's a little bit, I don't know if that's, because I don't think I've ever seen, like, the sequels to Lion King, like, was it Lion King 1.5 or 2.5 and 2? Like, I know there's at least, like, 2 sequels or something like that, but either way. So it kind of has a little bit of that vibe where it's like, right, everyone's just comparing and contrasting like, oh, how I'm not my father. Especially at a time when he can't even go to his father for advice because his dad's gone. So out there in the world and he probably has no idea where he is. And kind of on the flip side of that, we have, once again, Mylene like triumphing. In fact, she's got another Tong, the, Jiang Yao, submitting and becoming a part of the Long Z. So I guess kind of compensating for the Feng Kai they lost last season. So I wonder where the Jiang, where have they been the entire time? Like, well, have they been in Chinatown or had they been recent arrival? Probably not. They probably been here for a while, but they probably just kept to their own section, just like the Feng Kai. Like, just were doing their own thing. They didn't pop up until they popped up. So it's like, right, a lot of the Tongs probably keep their own territories. I'd assume, like, Longzi and Hopway are the bigger ones, and then, like, the Feng Kai and the Jiao Yao are, like, kind of, like, smaller ones. Because there was also that other one that kind of got wiped out by Mai Ling and Xing last season. It's the one that Liang wasn't too happy about. So it's probably a lot of that. But I did love that the leader, because I saw his name in the opening credits. It's Mark... Carcos, I'm probably butchering it. I've probably said his name wrong my entire life. I've looked it up one time how to properly pronounce it, but I feel like I'm still getting it wrong. Either way, I'm so sorry. But I was like, yo, I saw his name. I'm always so excited when I see him pop up and stuff. I know he's in John Wick. I believe it's 2. I believe he's only in one of the movies. I've not seen any of the John Wick movies. I want to change that. I just haven't taken time to do it. But I know I think it's 2. I believe 2's the one he's in. I don't think he's in any other ones. But either way, seeing him in this, I was like, oh, that's so dope. And him having to submit to Mai Ling, and he doesn't like it, even admitting he doesn't. But it's like him and Liang have history. And it's like, yeah, like it's nice to fight as brothers again, which I was like, interesting. I was like wondering, it's like, did Liang belong to a different Tong before he joined the Long Z? But it's like, no, I guess it's because the Jiao Yao and the Long Z have always had good relationships, specifically Mark's character and Long Z always had a good relationship, so maybe that's like the history that they have. But like for Liang, it's like, oh, we're like brothers. But Mark's character's like, yeah, but we all kind of thought you were going to take over the Tong. But he's like, I'm not much of a leader, and it's just like you could tell that's going to lead to some dissension because obviously Liang doesn't approve of everything that Mai Ling's done. Like, it's kind of like, oh, how has it all really been for the benefit of the Tong? It's like, no, it's been more so for her benefit because her power and her position comes first and foremost. You know, what's best for the Tong comes second. She will always come first because it's her compensating for the fact is that she always had to submit to someone else. Now that power is all hers. Absolute power corrupts absolutely and all that. So there's just been more and more moments of that as the show is going on between Liang and Mai Ling of him not gelling 100% with her ideas. In fact, her bringing those white women in, Chow hooking them up, which I love that one of the women is trying to be respectful, and then Chow, one of them, like, what's her name, Franny, was kind of like, yeah, one of them did kill the mayor, and he's like, well, maybe one of us did, maybe they didn't, not all of us are bad, maybe not all white people are good, but we're good, right? And Franny was kind of like, yeah, because we know that rubs Chow the wrong way, because first and foremost, he knows the reason why Jacob did what he did, and also because he sold Jacob out, and it's like, because of me, he ended up in that position. So Chow having that kind of brought up again, they didn't really directly bring it up, but they did by bringing up, Mayor Blake's death, but it still like rubbed in the wrong way because it just makes him reminded of like one of the biggest mistakes of his life, and he's going to carry that guilt. Even though he'll try and shake it off, it's still a sore spot no matter how much time has passed, and I think it's still a fresh enough wound, that someone's kind of basically picking at it in that moment. But anyway, Mai Ling is kind of like associating herself with the Ducks. I even love them being like, oh my god, you speak American, and she's just like, yeah, basically like, oh, isn't it wonderful? She had some snide comment like that, but, placating them. And she told them her story. It's like, because she's trying to bridge the gap between the Chinese and the white people, because it's like, hey, if I'm in their world and if I'm welcomed and accepted, which even Liang's like, you never will be. But it's like, if she's accepted, they'll be able to do business with us because our money as our Chinese money is just as green as their American money. I mean, they're all using American money, but you get the point I'm trying to make, where it's like, right, our cash is just as green as theirs. So, because she's trying to expand beyond Chinatown. It's like, right, with all these Tongs going around, and after last season, it's like, right, this place is too small for her ambition. So it's like, I'm going to go spread beyond this and gain more power and prestige. And with shaking the right hands, and, white people have a lot of power in this situation. So if I can set things up properly, I can grow the Long Z more so than anything. The more important thing is I can grow my own power. So, because she's the one making all the dealing. So I think eventually she'll probably get a little too full of herself and she will benefit, but she'll probably leave the Long Z in the dust. And that'll probably lead to some issues with Leong, where Leong is like, right, I'm here looking after the Long Z while you're kind of off doing your own thing. Like you're doing, once again, doing stuff to benefit you solely, and it's not benefiting the Tong like it should be. As a leader, you're supposed to be there for the Tong first and foremost, because they are the people who will fight, who will sacrifice, and who will die for you. But are you willing to do the same for them, or are they just pawns for you to send to the slaughter, which they more so are for Mylene? But that's just speculation on my part. I'm interested to see where things kind of go on that front. We catch a little bit with Toy. She's apparently been spending a lot more time in Sonoma. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Well, I was about to say her brothel shut down, but it's like, no, it seems like it's in good enough position. So I guess she was able to kind of maybe pay off the right people. That was okay. Not unless they ended up relocating or something like that, because the brothel's open later on. I mean, when Chow and Young Jun and all of them were there, so. But she's not there more often, right? Because Chow's running the place. So I forgot, like she left it in Chow's care, because Austin was like, yeah, but who's going to keep an eye on who's going to keep an eye on Chow? So she's in Sonoma a lot, which Lai is happy to see her. She doesn't spend as much time there, but she is there a lot. So Nelly is happy to have her, and it's like, right, more properties we can buy, so more women we can save. So I think it's a thing of. Atoy hasn't completely abandoned the ambition that she had about the properties. It's just now with Nelly, they're able to like shift, and she's able to help out more in like, because she was planning so much for the future, which this still is with the properties they're buying, but it's like more land that these women can work on, more property that could eventually be there. So it's like a combination of what Nelly's been doing plus what Atoy's ambitions and dreams were for the future are kind of one and the same now. So we'll see how things kind of turn about in that front. I wasn't the only one who had concerns. Other people have had concerns of just with this whole Sonoma thing. They're like, oh man, something's going to go wrong. Someone's going to go up there and cause issues. Didn't happen last season, but you feel like, gee, it's just right around the corner with just how explosive everything is, that it's just only a matter of time before that ends up happening. Like I just get the feeling, and I'm scared and worried, but I get that feeling like it's only a matter of time before the Sonoma situation turns into a little bit of a Chinatown situation in itself, so we shall see. Someone that didn't pop up in this episode, I was immediately like, wow, where's Penelope? We're catching up with literally every other character but her. And then I had to remind myself, I was like, oh, right, she's in an asylum right now. I completely forgot about that. We also don't know if Zing managed to escape. Like I said, we know his bar was rattling in like the mid to post credits and the season 2 finale. But beyond that, we don't know if it's long enough has happened where he's able to escape, or whether he's going to escape this season. We don't know a lot of that. Something to also talk about is we've got the news like, oh my God, like Flanagan passed away, and obviously Bill is kind of set up to be his replacement. The introduction to that storyline made me go like, is that because the actor passed away? And it's like, it does seem like he did. The in loving memory of a friend and colleague at the end, David Butler. I was looking into it. Based on IMDb, it seems like that is, in fact, the actor who played Flanagan. It seems like he passed away in 2021. I didn't look into it beyond that. Just like, I choose not to. It's just like knowing he passed, and, that sucks. But I figured like them creating that specific story beat made me feel like it probably, especially if you were able to get every one of the cast back, it feels like it probably is a situation of, I'm making that assumption. I wasn't paying as much attention. I don't know if the actress who plays Penelope's name was in the opening credits or not, or whether it's just going to be, she's going to be so removed from this. I don't even know if Sophie's going to be in this. You would assume she would be, because I'm sure a lot of that falls on her. But like I said, this is only the first episode of the season, so probably like at the time you're recording this, because I finally am in the process of still catching up, I've still got 4 more episodes, because there's 5 episodes out right now, So it could be easily like, oh, that ends up coming up literally in the next episode or something like that, so. But Bill was all set on this job position. And because for one, it would be his way out of finally getting out of Chinatown and finally getting his family back. Because his wife's like, yo, you get out of Chinatown, you get this promotion as chief, and we'll see how things kind of play out because she's staying at her sister's, which her sister seems pretty well off. It might be because of who she's married to. Because I was like, yo, like the moment saw Bill talking to his wife in that house, I was like, why is his house so awesome? And I'm like, and the fact is, like, she's in some fancy garb too. I'm like, this is weird. But it's like, right, it's probably like it's her sister. Like, it seems like her sister's well off. Probably more so like maybe because of who she's married to. So that's probably got to cut Bill a little bit, especially when him and his, I can only assume it's his brother-in-law, having that conversation of, hey, so how's the chief? It's like, yeah, that's working out. It's like, good, excellent. Because, yeah, having your family here, there's a lot of them. I can't wait for them to go home. You'd assume Bill's pretty, I mean, obviously he's drinking. That's not going to disappear. But he probably has cut back on any gambling, specifically probably in Chinatown. And, I mean, granted, the fungi are gone, but still, he's probably cut back heavily on his gambling. So we did see him and Lee catch up, where Lee is still working at the bar now. Him and his love, I'm blanking on her name. It's something with an A, isn't it? Oh, God, that's going to bother the crap out of me. I can't remember off the top of my head. But it seems like they're good. He still seems to be getting his headaches. It seems like that still has not been resolved. So that's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, I love when he was roughing up the guys, breaking up the bar. He's like, right, you're going to pay for this like your mama, what was it, hanging out wet laundry or something? He said something like that. And the guy's like, what? He's like, just get out of here. I was like, Lee and his damn southern idioms. It's like they don't mean jack shit to anyone else. But yeah, Bill wants him to come back, but it's like, nah, I'm happy here, just less stress and all that, and just what the system is. I mean, to be fair, you're also going to be working on the Buckley, which Buckley ain't shit. You know, he's moving things in a certain direction because, hey, he wants to be elected. Because he's like, yeah, I was acting mayor, but now I have to actually get elected in my position, even though I was sworn in. It's still that complicated thing of like, I have to basically like schmooze and shake hands and kiss babies type of situation too. And it's like, yeah, he doesn't like that. He likes working and operating in the shadows. It's easier to manipulate the situation and control the situation when you're not the focus of it. When you have to be active and stuff like that. All the shady shit he did for Mayor Blake, he can't do that now for himself. So he hates it. He's the behind the scenes type of dude. So, but yeah, he brought in a new chief, Atwood, to take care of things because apparently he handled his Chinatown situation in New York. But as Bill tried to say, Chinatown here is different from Chinatown there, which I think Atwood's going to have a rude awakening when Chinatown bitch slaps him, because you know it will. But we'll see. Atwood apparently came with his own people, but Bill and them are going to have to fall in line or resign. But I'm sure like Bill's just going to sit back and enjoy it when he gets his shit rocked in, because he's like, yeah, you're coming in here thinking like, because we have no idea what the Chinatown situation is like in New York. Like, are there tongs there as well? Maybe, but maybe they're not the heavy hitters like the Long Z and the Hopway are. Which also, it's like, how does that work with his deals with Mylene? But he made it clear, no more violence, because he's like, you can't, like, you can only push me so far before I'm like, no matter what dirt you have on me, it's not worth the bullshit I have to deal with from you. So Mylene kind of smiles, but I'm like, she might end up overplaying her hand because she's already kind of done that last season with the fungi. So we'll see. But I think she is going to get a little too big for her britches and kind of like overstep her boundaries. And it's going to probably be her rude awakening. We'll see. But going back to my whole point is, because Buckley's running things, Lee would doubly not go back, because it's like nothing's changed. In fact, things probably have gotten worse, especially because you have Leary kind of entering the political sphere, trying to still get Irish people hired. But what was it? Oh, God, I'm blanking on his name. One of the people was talking to him where it's like, right, with the amount he's spending on lumber and stuff, I just economically can't like justify hiring an Irish crew. So Buckley does what not Buckley, Leary does what he does. It's like, hey, I'm going to do this political thing. I can't change laws. I'm getting pressure from my own people to do something. So I beat the ever living snot out of one of the lumber suppliers. And it's like, cool. Now that's brought the pricing down. Now you can hire some more Irish people on. It's like, oh, and they'll be working alongside Chinese. He's like, how many people are you going to hire? 15. He's like, bump it up to 20. So it's probably going to put I'd assume, but I mean, who knows how many like Irish that is in comparison to how many Chinese. Like, it could be like 20 to 30, or it could be like 20 to 15. Like, maybe it's going to be an even split of 15 Chinese for 50. You would assume not, just because of how low the Chinese pay is. So you'd assume it probably, like, if he's giving you, it might be like 40 Chinese to 20, like for the amount of money he can get for like 15. Well, it might be 30. It might be a thing of like, right, for the money he's getting for 30, is he can only afford 15 Irish, so maybe that's the math. So if it's, so it might be 30 Chinese to 20, like it might not be an even split, or I have no idea what the breakdown of that is. But it's like, yeah, that's not going to go over well, because none of the Irish workers are going to enjoy working with the Chinese. And maybe Leary's going to try and bridge some of that for now until they can swing things more so, until they can completely remove the Chinese, especially with everything going on. Buckley trying to keep his mayorship, probably still sucking up to the senator who's trying to push for this Exclusion Act. It's like it's only a matter of time. So we'll see if that ends up kind of getting pushed through in any shape or form this season. Other than that, we had the Chow taking Assam and them to rob the people he sold guns to before, because he saw the money, and the Hopway needs the money because they don't have enough money to buy molasses, and Happy Jack won't release the product because they don't have enough money. So they can't buy any from China. They also can't buy any from Happy Jack. So they need the scratch to do it. So luckily they end up killing those guys. And I love the guy tries to shoot Chow, and it misfires and like blows up in his face, and Chow's like, you pay for what you get. You get what you pay for, because they had that whole thing at the beginning where Chow was like, yo, you wanted the cheaper bunch, so you get 100, which are, you get 100, for $100 you get used guns. For 200 you would have gotten good, which it benefited Chow because you got the devil's luck, because it's like, yeah, good thing he went for the cheaper kind, because it's like, yeah, if he had the good kind, your ass would be dead right now. So you do definitely have the devil's luck. But it turns out the guys didn't have the money, so it's like, what's going on here? And ultimately Chow finds a printing plate. So their count, so I was like, okay, so interesting. So now the Hopway are going to be in the counterfeiting business, the counterfeit money business. I'm like, okay, interesting. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how that goes. I mean, obviously printing money is going to completely and utterly fuck the economy and just like the value of the dollar. Like when you have, like, if you pump too much money in there, like that's going to be a delicate balancing act. I don't know if they're really going to worry about that too much, because it's like, right, you're going to be printing your own money. So it's going to definitely lean towards the, them having more power. Because even Mark's character and Leon like talked about, like, right, you gotta be more wary of the Hopway, but it's like, no, they're not as powerful as they were. But then, Mark's character was like, yeah, but you need to worry about Assam, because he's become a folk hero, and he got a lot of support in Chinatown because of what he did. Like, Mylene's got the muscle and power, but kind of like a hero like that can go a very, very long way in a lot of people's minds. And, that could ultimately like screw the pooch for a lot of stuff that they're building. So, and I think even the fact is Leong had his tussle with Assam, and it's like, maybe even he got, just from that little scrap, got the fact is like, yeah, it's not the same punk that I fought and nearly killed last season. So, not last season, but season 1. So we'll have to wait to see how that kind of plays out. But I'm very, very excited for the new season. I'm excited to continue watching Warrior and catch up and just see where this next episode takes us with all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.